about the fact that we're starting them as women. But most importantly, let's talk about changing the world and disrupting big businesses. And sometimes men do it, and sometimes women do it.
Yeah, so because usually a lot of conferences I go to, not the web, but a lot of conferences I go to, you have the panel on women just because, you know, they need to have one and they want to kind of make an excuse without having enough women for the rest of the conference.
Definitely, right? it has been a challenge for years, and every year we get people saying back, yeah, there is no women on stage, where are they? And it doesn't just make sense to say, oh, we want women. I mean, as you said, we want entrepreneurs, we want to see the project, we want to see innovation and what's happening. Obviously, I think there are many more women, but it's not just about that, it's about the business.
Do you have a hard time actually finding women speakers?
Yes and no. I mean, it depends. I think it really changes, and it really changed also, I mean, just about the web and technology and innovation, because technology and innovation is really now in our daily life, and as soon as you go in that field in the daily life, then maybe it really changed for women, and it brings women to those businesses. But it's true in any business.
So basically, you're pointing out the role of role models, right? So you're three role models here. So even if we don't want to talk about women, at the same time, the absence of role models is also an issue. I'm not a girl, so I'm just assuming.
I mean,
Maëlle, I look at you. You have to take that one.
Look, I think a role model is not defined on the sex of the person. I think a role model is based on his leadership style, what this person has been able to achieve. And I don't think that the fact that this person wears a skirt actually has any effect on the fact that I'm looking up at that person or not. And actually, I discovered that I was a woman by going to these conferences where everybody keeps asking me, how is it to be a woman? Why? The good thing is that the bathroom is always empty here in the tech conference. That's the only place where women don't have to queue for the bathroom at tech conference.
So is that industry, and then we'll move on, don't worry, but is that industry, I used to be a lobbyist. I've seen other industries, and a lot of people believe that the tech, digital web, whichever you want to call it, industry is like less sexist or whatever. I actually don't believe so.
I mean, I think that, as Geraldine said, that what we're talking about is consumers who want specific products, and often the end buyer of a product is a woman, and so now we're seeing more and more women create products for that end buyer. And when you are pitching to raise money for to a group of people who could never be the end consumer of your products, that's a challenge. I don't know if that's sexist, right? Because there are many companies who will pitch and you will not be an end user, but it's certainly a hurdle because you can't get in the mindset of becoming a consumer. And we all know that in order to fundraise, it's incredibly important that the people who are listening to those pitches can imagine the use case. And I think that's the biggest challenge, but we're overcoming it because we understand how to use data and KPIs to talk about use case.
Actually, I think it was in a book called Why Women Win Business. And there was one statistic that said that 8% of purchasing decisions are actually made by women. So that's a market, actually.
Exactly,
right?
That's a market.
Yes? No? Yes?
Yes, it is. I don't know. As I say, I'm not necessarily super comfortable to talk about this.
So let's move on. Let's move on. Since I'm not a woman, I wrote out a question already. So let's move on to the next 10 years, so innovation. So you're running a big e-commerce website in Russia, right?
Yeah, actually, I run the biggest e-commerce.
The biggest e-commerce, I'm sorry.
in Russia, which is called Ozone, and we did last year $500 million in turnover.
It's a bit like Amazon?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have an Amazon part, but we also have a delivery service, and we also have a travel agency, and we're growing between 50 and 70% per annum, so we're growing fast.
So why did you take? Oh yeah.
Yes,
come on, guys.
There were 2,000 employees behind me doing the job, which I'm just sitting and having a nice conversation while they work.
That's very nice. Yeah, you're French, right?
Yes.
So what made you move to Russia?
Actually, I learned Russian at school, and then my first startup was in Russia just by accident. I just moved there because I wanted to improve my Russian, and then I met the first person who financed my first business. And I left Russia thinking, oh my God, I never want to go back there. I joined an American company, and then when they discovered that I speak Russian, they actually sent me back. And then Ozone came along, and I joined.
Because the reason I'm asking that is one of the biggest things that will happen. I always make the comparison like in the U.S. box office. If you think of movies, it used to be that the movies were making more money in the U.S. and there was additional ancillary benefits outside. And now if you actually look at, especially the blockbusters, they're making much more money outside than the U.S. And that's a trend that keeps on going, that a lot of people, even here, we keep on focusing on innovation in the United States. It comes from the United States. There's still a lot of innovation that comes from the United States. That's why I'm also very interested. You also have internationalized Birchbox, right? You're not only in the U.S.
Yeah.
So are you seeing innovation going as fast everywhere, or do you think actually the U.S. still has the lead as it comes to innovation because of market conditions? We just had a very intense debate with France, with Mr. Montbou, the French initiative, people complaining about the work here in France. Do you think that innovation actually is picking up everywhere or not?
I mean, it's picking up, but it's certainly at different places. We are 3 years old, and we started Birchbox in the United States with the idea that it is much too hard to shop for beauty products, and it's a massive industry where you're really constrained to brick and mortar to buy a beauty product for the first time. What we realized is that our company was really appealing to a global audience, but most importantly, our partners are global. So we had to move really quickly into global markets because we have a huge ambition. We want to be the largest discovery e-commerce company in the world. And there was no time to wait.
For you.
Different model.
We actually talked to each other.
Yeah, I want to go to Russia. So we were fortunate because we were able to move quickly into Europe, starting really in France. And I think that one of the things that has really benefited us is that there's not as much competition online. On the flip side, there are a lot of hard regulations about being here in particular that make it
Here,
hard.
meaning France.
Yes, that make it harder for us to run the model because, as what was said on the former panel, we are quintessentially trying to disrupt an industry, trying to invent a brand new channel that combines marketing and media and commerce. And when there are rules around what channels you can operate in and rules that exclude you from being a pure play, it means that we have to change our business fundamentally and potentially open brick and mortar in order to play, which is not our aspiration. So,
absolutely. And what you were saying backstage, I think you were totally right about saying creating a startup is not it's about consumer. It's not about disrupting another business.
Yeah, we're not trying to attack an
Exactly.
industry. We're trying to make something better, grow the pie.
And innovation is complicated when regulations are complicated. I mean, it's very challenging when you see those companies want to go to Europe and go all the way. It's kind of a challenge.
Is that why you moved away from France?
Not really.
Sorry, I had to ask.
No, not really. No, it was about being in the internet and in the center of it. And obviously, center of it is still San Francisco and the Valley. So that's why it's not about the regulation.
There's also an advantage to being early. There's an advantage to paving the road. There's an advantage to being a part of a movement early on where, in 1 year of being in France, we have become one of the largest pure play beauty e-commerce companies, and that took us 3 years in the US. Just because the market is smaller online. So I think there are...
And you have a brand name as well.
Sure. I mean, I think a little bit that, but I think more so there's just less competition. And if you're operating and executing well, you just have an opportunity. Not without friction, but certainly it's fun to be earlier and help define where the industry is going.
So where is the industry going in terms of e-commerce? Because you two are actually in that. So where do you see it going?
I think e-commerce is disrupting right now retail in general, and that is a very, exciting but also terrifying thing for a lot of people. People like us are obviously very excited about it because we're creating the future. I mean, in Russia, for example, we cover the entire territory, so we deliver all the way to Kamchatka, and we do that through a very dense network of what we call pickup points. Now, when you look at it, some of these people, the product we deliver there, they've never seen it before. They just now have access to it because we have because there is an internet connection and they can order it and we will deliver it to them in 10 days, which by Russian standard is actually
Yeah, I was about to say.
I'm talking about Kamchatka. So I think e-commerce is definitely opening new regions, new products for customers who've never had this opportunity before. I think that's for traditional retail is going to be a huge challenge. Very few of them are actually right now managing what we call a multi-channel approach. The US are definitely in front of everybody in there, but even there we've seen multiple retailers dying because of e-commerce. Amazon doesn't have a lot of fun in the retail industry in the US as far as I know. And so I think that's.
But you're doing the same thing in Russia. So you don't have many fans in Russia as well, right?
Well, consumers love it.
Yeah, consumers love this stuff.
And I think the other really important part of e-commerce is that it really changes the opportunity for brands to meet their customer in a much more cost-efficient way. So if you think about the friction points it takes in order to suddenly be in 1,000 brick-and-mortar retail doors, the infrastructure needed, the brand awareness needed to make it work, all of that completely changes when you are online. You're with an algorithm or Birchbox, we personalize. I'm sure you do the personalization too. You can suddenly be in front of the right customer at a low cost and understand who is your customer, what's the appropriate way to acquire that customer. So it really does create opportunity for smaller brands to find their customer, and it doesn't only have to be dominated by behemoth brands.
But yeah, I mean that applies to the US. I mean, the reason I'm saying that emerging markets have a different dynamics still that compared to the US, right? So you've expanded in France,
the UK, and
the UK,
Spain.
and Spain, right? Mm-hmm. But you've not expanded yet in the emerging markets, right?
Yet.
So these dynamics, do you think it will expand in these type of markets as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're trying to understand things that really matter to us, like
you
credit,
keep talking, you can see that.
credits, like logistics. So fortunately, if we were to partner with somebody like Ozone, we would have logistics.
So basically, yeah, you're leading me to my next question is basically the problem you're having in e-commerce. At some point, you're reaching a physical boundary, like logistics, the labor times, stuff that it seems like when you live in the US,
execution is complicated, right?
Sorry?
In those countries, execution is complicated.
Oh yeah, much more. Even here, it's much more complicated. I mean, talking about the way that we run our business, the margins that we can run on with freight forwarding, for an example, to change the cost profile of shipping hundreds of thousands of boxes doesn't even exist here. Somebody start a freight forwarder, please. It would be so helpful.
Guys, there's an opportunity here.
Well, I think Jacques-Antoine Grandjean, we've contributed a lot on that for all the platform and that kind of thing.
I see you have a box next to you. What is that?
This is Birchbox.
Oh,
this is what Birchbox is. So this is actually the Birchbox for France. The idea of Birchbox is that we personalize a selection of beauty products and we bring them to you. So we bring a miniature boutique to you every month so you can try product. Then we editorialize it, we teach you, and then you can buy everything through us. So think of us as a marketing company that generates new demand and the e-commerce company that captures that demand all under one roof.
That was a good pitch, actually. Can you open it? Can I see this?
You want me to put something on your hair?
Oh yeah.
You just have earphones for men, don't you?
Not in Europe, but just in the US. And it's very successful. We can get you a Birchbox for men in the US.
Yeah, so
you have Birchbox for men as well?
In the US, not yet here.
Why? Because our men in France are not sophisticated enough to get that?
I think men in France are very sophisticated. You tell me. No, because we're just focused. We didn't launch men in the US until we felt we had critical traction with women, and that's just the way we do things. We probably will launch men if we feel that they're ready for it, but we test things first. We're very MVP first kind of.
And is it successful in the US so
Very
far?
successful.
Oh.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that there's just less competition for us, same thing in France with beauty, has been hugely successful. We've become a destination site to shop for grooming and other lifestyle items. It's also twice as expensive, and the lifetime of our customers is about equal. So it's been fabulous.
See, it's not my fault, but we came back to the subject of men and women, right? They're connected. You guys had, I don't think you were there, you guys had a dinner last night, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, this one was absolutely about women. So no, but the idea was to gather women of the industry and see how we can be movers and shakers. But I don't want to come back to this initial topic. But the point was really to see how we would integrate all those innovations in our daily lives, and how we can do for the next generation, I mean our girls, just not to be on that kind of male women.
So do you think your kids will actually see in a world when there's no that differentiation? But we won't have to do these kind of panels.
I hope there will always
No,
be differentiation.
no, of course. Sorry, but I mean, like, you have like have a panel which says, because I think even on the title it says digital women, right? I don't know what I'm doing here, but so do you hope that this will actually go away very quickly?
Very quickly, probably not, because it takes time for the society to adapt to these kind of changes. It takes time to women themselves to accept that. It takes time for their spouses to adapt to that as well. So it will probably take a bit of time. But
so meaning that these type of initiatives, like the generalized time, are still something that's actually needed, right?
I think it's
change
definitely
our minds
needed to change the mind and spread the word that it. Well, we can change things, but it's not changing things in our businesses only. It's also changing things in education, in minds, and kind of put together. I mean, everything at the same level, and not splitting that.
Actually, in the next 10 years, there will be 1 billion women entering the workforce globally. That's a study that's been made last year. So I've been living in emerging countries a lot, and this is something, actually, interestingly enough, I've been living in the Philippines, and the Philippines is a women-driven country. So you go to a restaurant, and they don't give you the bill as a guy, they give you the bill as to the woman. So I encourage a lot of guys, all the matches, to actually live there for a while, and you actually realize suddenly what actually, you don't see every day. Anyway, coming back to innovation, because we have still a few minutes left. I want to see, we cannot touch like disruption. Okay? Disruption means everything and nothing. Innovation means everything and nothing. So I want to hear you guys telling me, what do you think will be the single, maybe within your industry, the single biggest trend in the next 5 to 10 years? I know we're not futurists here. We're just trying to assess what you think will actually make the biggest change and biggest impact in the next 5 to 10 years.
Sure. I think for us, two things that everyone is talking about. One is mobile, and the other is personalization, and they actually really go hand in hand. So the more that you can have an efficient interaction with an e-commerce company, or an efficient interaction even with a media company, where you're really being served the appropriate information that is relevant to you, it just saves us all time, and it's going to change the way that we think about spending our leisure time, and change the way also that we think about just consuming in general. It's a huge part of our business model today in terms of personalization, but it's just the beginning. And there's so much that is to come with all of us having our smartphone with us everywhere.
It's definitely about personalization, and also I think technology will just disappear. It's now mobile, and maybe tomorrow we won't even think about it. It will be everywhere.
I agree. Actually, I use always an example. I'll say if you were thinking about the 1950, everybody now pretty much has a washing machine, right? It was amazing. Now you just don't see it anymore. Or a oven. The only time you see a oven actually when you try to change the clock for daylight saving, then you get mad. But you don't see it. So of course, I agree with you. It will disappear in the background. You won't see it.
It's not about being connected. It's about our daily lives, and when you see Nest, when you see the wearable technology, when you see the clothing changing, and all this innovation going on and coming back to us, I think it's all about the people, but not the connection anymore.
Yeah?
I agree with what Katja said about what are going to be a big trend in e-commerce. I think we in Russia have one more, which is around payments. I know it's a very hot topic, not only in Russia, but also in the US with Square and everything. But in Russia, it's particularly important because e-commerce like us, we do 75% cash on delivery, which means that you order online and then we're going to come to you and then you're going to pay us. And usually you don't want to use a credit card, you're really going to pay cash. And so there was an entire dynamic and industry being created around how do you manage payment in an industry which is mainly a cash system. In Africa, they have created some very interesting system. Whether this is going to be adapted to Russia, we're going to move directly to mobile, where payment is going to be integrated with your bank account. It's all moving a lot. It's going to change a lot of the way we work, because part of the reason why we built our delivery network was also to collect the cash. We don't want other people to collect it for us.
And so this question about how is payment going to reshape the e-commerce for us is crucial, and I think it's going to be not only for us in Russia, but in general for the world.
Totally agree with that.
Okay. So we're running out of time, and since I have Geraldine here with me, I cannot expend that. She will hate me. So thank you very much, Katja, Mel, and Geraldine. Thank you. Thank you. Geraldine is